What's going on, everybody, and welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk. I'm your boy, Charles Wells, aka C. Wells. You see the name on the screen, and I'm coming at you today with another trip into the SWAC Talk time machine. We're going to journey back to the year 2K. The Y2K bug was definitely striking at this point. It has struck already, and we are into the first SWAC championship of the 2000s, the second ever SWAC championship, the first featuring the G-Men of Grambling State and also the Bulldogs of Alabama A&M. So these two teams took completely different paths to get here. Grambling was led by the great Doug Williams. He was in his third year there at Grambling, and he had completely turned that program around since the end of the Eddie Robinson days. When Coach Rob left Grambling, they were doing really bad, and they brought in Doug Williams, and he took over and he built that program up. They had a winning season his first year. The second year, they were right there in the hunt for the SWAC championship, and then his third year, he led them to a great record in the conference division championship. Alabama A&M was led by Coach Ron Cooper, who had came down from Eastern Michigan and Temple, I believe. No, Eastern Michigan, and he took over Alabama A&M, and the Bulldogs had started to build up a team of their own. They were in their actual second year of SWAC competition as a full member. So in 2 years, they went from a provisional member to a division championship, which is a crown that they would win quite often, although they wouldn't win the league championship at all for much of the year. But before we get into all of that, man, let's go ahead and take a second and check out those socials while you're here. They're down in the description below. SWAC Talk is on Facebook, facebook.com/SWACTalk, twitter.com/SWACTalk76, instagram.com/SWACTalk, and SWACTalk76 is the Gmail address. And as you can see behind me, I kind of fixed my background a little bit, man. I'm trying to up my values a little bit, man, make my videos look a little bit better. And I want to say, man, if anybody wants to have their school, throw it up back here. This is not a Southern University podcast. That's just who I represent. If you want to shoot me a T-shirt, man, I don't care if it's a dollar store T-shirt, as long as it got your school on it. I would throw it up on the wall, man, and represent for you, because this is called SWAC Talk, and I want to represent the SWAC as much as I can. Now, like I said, I'm a Southern fan, but I have no Southern bias. I would come down on Southern as hard as anybody will when they mess up. So just know that I'm not one of them cats that's asking for a lot of great things from y'all. Man, you send me whatever, I'll throw it up there, and I'll hold it down for your school. So especially if we got any Valley people out there, man. If you're a Valley person, man, come on, hit me up, man. My father's a Valley alum, but he won't give me nothing because I don't think he has any merch. But if you're a Valley fan, man, won't you hit me up, and I gladly throw up an MVSU thing up there. So without any further ado, also let's check. I guess this is more ado. The podcast, SWAC Talk, is on anchor.fm/SWAC Talk. It can be found on Spotify, Stitcher, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. It's going to be coming out weekly at this point on Sundays until I get ready to do my season previews. Right now, it's not enough going on to do 2 shows a week. So we're going to do a weekly thing, but videos on YouTube will be found on Sundays and Wednesdays. Wednesdays is my SWAC Talk time machine day, and the Sunday will be whatever comes to mind, whatever I feel like talking about. So that's how I'm blessing y'all with that. And while you're here, we're up to 130 subscribers. If you want to go ahead and jump aboard the SWAC Talk train, man, come on, hop on aboard. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel while you're here. You know, like they say, most people watch, they don't subscribe. Once you go ahead and subscribe, and then once you do that, hit that notification bell so you can be alerted to any videos that I upload. Because like I said, I'm going to be doing things at least twice a week, sometime more if anything pops off in a breaking news fashion. Like the videos and share them while you're here. And also, while I got you in this introductory mode, I just want to thank y'all, man, for the love that y'all shown, because I didn't really do this to, to get anything. I just kind of did this for fun. And I wanted to throw my hat in here because I see a lot of people doing this SWAC YouTube thing. And I'm not trying to hate on nobody, but I feel like a lot of people ain't really representing the way that it should be done. So I want to go ahead and bring what I do for my podcast to video form and do this, man. And I thank y'all for supporting me and showing me all the love and attention that I get. So just want to humble thanks and gonna continue to work for y'all. So now back into the time machine, man. Let's go back to the year 2000, the 99 and 2000, as Cash Money used to say. So let's go ahead and break this off. We're gonna look at the East standings first. Alabama A&M came in to this game with a 5-2 conference record, 7-5 overall. Alabama State was 5-2 also, 6-5 overall. Jackson State came in at 4-3, 7-4 overall. Valley was 1-6, 2-9 overall, and Alcorn was 0-7, 0-11 overall. You got to think back to that was a good period of time where Alcorn was just not good, and this is kind of that period. Grambling won the West Division with a 6-1 record, 10-2 overall. They would actually finish the year ranked number 13 in the FCS, although it was still Division I AA at that point, but that's neither here nor there. Texas Southern finished second with a 5-2 record. They were 8-4 overall. Pine Bluff was 4-3 in conference, 6-5 overall. Southern was 6-5 overall, 4-3 in conference, and Prairie View was 1-6, 1-10 overall. Prairie View was still in the midst of their historical losing. They broke their losing streak, but they still weren't winning yet. They didn't become a factor in wins until 2005, 2006, and then they started to really put their mark on the SWAC as a whole. So let's look at how Grambling got here and what they did to get to this point. They opened up their season with a 29-6 victory over Alcorn. They lost to Louisville 52-0. They beat Alabama A&M 17-14. They beat Valley 49-13. They beat Prairie View 47-7. They beat FAMU 12-10. I believe the game was in the Circle City Classic in Indianapolis. They beat Pine Bluff 24-17. They beat Jackson State 33-30. They beat Texas Southern 26-17. They beat Alabama State 20-2. They lost to Southern in the Bayou Classic 33-29. And they beat Alabama A&M in the SWAC Championship game. No spoilers, obviously. That score was, we're going to talk about that in a minute. But that's how Grambling got here. A&M got here in a little bit of a different path. They were a very, very good defensive team. They didn't really have an explosive offense. They did have some nice players. They had Kenyon Hambrick. He was a wide receiver. They had a couple good backs. And they had some transfers come in under Coach Cooper. And he really had their team clicking defensively. And they were very, very tough defensively to handle. Grambling and A&M were 1-2 in the SWAC in defense. Grambling, offensively, they were led by Randy Himes at quarterback, the great Scotty Anderson at wide receiver, also Ellis Spears at wide receiver, Levi Washington defensively. Calvin Spears was a name that factors heavily into this game. And Grambling was really starting to surge at that point. A&M came into this game losing to Troy 28-13. They beat Henderson State 39-10. They lost to Grambling 17-14. They beat Prairie View 49-10. They beat Valley 26-12. They lost to Southern 31-20. So Southern actually beat both teams in this game and still didn't have a great season. So that tells you the mark of what these teams did. And the SWAC was actually pretty competitive at this point. It didn't really hit that little mid-2000 downturn yet. They beat Morris Brown. That's a name that you haven't seen in a while, 30-24. They beat Alabama State 34-27 in the Magic City Classic. They lost to Jackson State 34-28. They beat Alcorn 27-20. And they beat Pine Bluff 26-0. That Alabama State game was the game that basically won them the division because they finished tied with them. The Pine Bluff game was the last game of the season, and that was the game that they had to win to get here, and they did that. and they faced off against Grambling in a game that was not very pretty for the eyes. It ended up a 14-6 game. Grambling won. A&M scored their only touchdown on a fumble recovery, return 90-plus yards for a touchdown. Grambling actually scored first on a pass from Randy Himes to Ellis Spears, and the score was 7-6 for a long time before A&M ran a trick play, and they ran like a reverse receiver pass, kind of like a throwback, and the receiver was getting tackled, and he decided to just throw the ball across the field anyway. Calvin Spears picks it off, takes it to the house, and Grambling has a 14-6 margin, which is what they won by. So for two teams who really were defensively oriented, this game definitely did what it meant to do. But Grambling had a better offense, but A&M's defense really played very well in this game. Scotty Anderson had a pretty good game. He was probably one of the best receivers in the SWAC in that time period. And he didn't get in the end zone, but he definitely made plays. He caught I believe 14 or 15 touchdowns on the season. Randy Himes was a quarterback who was more of he played receiver for a good portion of his career. And his senior year, he played quarterback. He also was a basketball player, tremendous athlete at Grambling. And he wasn't the most polished quarterback, but he did what they needed to do. Actually, he was probably about 20 years ahead of his time. Guys like that are all over college football right now. Guys who are more athlete than quarterback. They have good arms, but they don't necessarily make the right reads, but they are very athletic and they can get out of the pocket. He had good size. But these two teams, like I said, this wasn't the most entertaining game. If you're looking for high-flying offense, this really wasn't what you would look for. This was strictly a defensive game, but it was also a game that two teams who kind of had different styles and different methods of getting to this game, they battled it out. And this was the second championship game in a row where you would have a close margin of victory. This one was 8 points. The first one was 1 point. So it looked like the SWAC championship game was going to go, the way that people thought it was, with a lot of close games. And it stayed that way for a good while. It stayed that way for a couple of years. Grambling would actually go to the SWAC championship 2 more years after this. And we'll cover those games in our upcoming series. But Grambling and Southern really were the only two East-West Division teams who would win the West Division until Pine Bluff won it in 2006, and then it wasn't again until 2009 when Prairie View won it, and then 2010 when Texas Southern won it, and then back to Grambling and Southern, and now Pine Bluff in 2021 spring. East side, A&M, Jackson State, obviously they won the first one. And then it was a mix of Alabama State and Alabama A&M winning it for a good portion of the time until Jackson State came back in 2007 and I believe 2008. And then Alabama State and Alabama A&M again until Alcorn started their run in the late 2010s. So as you can see, this championship game has kind of like always been the mix of the same teams. Everybody's represented their division at least once, except for Valley. And now we have 2 more teams coming on. And I'm not going to pick on Valley, but I think that FAMU and Bethune-Cookman will get to the championship game before Valley does. So I want the Delta Devils to do well, man. But, right now they're just not there. So, like I said, there's not a lot to talk about with this game. But it was a nice little flashback to watching this game. I honestly didn't watch it when it happened because, Southern was not good that year, but I was kind of hurt that we didn't win enough games to get there. But, it was an entertaining game if you like defense. I do suggest that if you want to check it out, you go to Alex Hines' channel. He has this game up there. And like I always say, man, if you're looking for an HBCU game, he got him, man. And like I said, that's just, I salute him, man. He grinds and he puts in work. And I remember his channel when it didn't have a lot of videos, so he definitely got it out of the mud. That's what I do, man. I'm trying to get it out the mud and represent for the SWAC. So with that being said, we're going to hop on up out of here. We'll be back on Sunday. I don't know what I'm gonna talk about yet, but I'm quite sure it's gonna be a rant of some sort, and so you don't want to miss that. And then we'll be back on Wednesday for our 2001 SWAC Championship game in the SWACTalk Time Machine. That game features Grambling and Alabama State. So this is Charles Wells, aka C Wells, man. We up out of here. Y'all enjoy y'all Wednesday, and we'll see y'all on the rebound.